What's going on, everybody? DJ Wars 22 here. I'm going to attempt to do this in one take. I took so many notes. There's a lot of information that just came out. If you want to check out the official stream, you can see it right here. It's an hour and 48 minutes. I will do my best to kind of just, dumb it down for you guys, give you some of the outlines and just cut out a lot of the filler, but it was excellent. And so shout out to Rod, Tiffany, Joe, and Adam Fletcher, man. Oh my goodness. Great job for these updates. It probably answered 90% of my personal questions. So the first thing, this was a campfire meeting. This is actually different than a dev update. So they really made sure to tell you the difference here. This did talk about a lot of things for season 1 and potentially season 2 as well, but they're not here to necessarily showcase what is upcoming. That's not really the goal. So the first thing, Rod actually said multiple expansions potentially. Ooh, multiple expansions. I'd be happy with just one expansion. So this is going to be really cool. It looks like for sure Diablo 4 is going to continuously be worked on, which is really exciting for a lot of us. Now, Tiffany mentioned hot fixes. These are meant to be seamless. These are things that you should be able to play the game and they just kind of happen. And that's a big difference between shutting down the servers for maintenance. They have cut out about 11 of these hot fixes already. 11 hot fixes. That's a lot. So yeah, these should be rolling changes, not made to completely alter the game. And they have to also take into, what time of day is it? They have to think about that as well. So Rod mentioned big patches are coming. Yes, so there'll be a lot of maintenance for that. Whenever that does happen, I'm assuming season 1, maybe further than that. Obviously, season 1 is going to have some major maintenance. So you can look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of information. Large client patch. 13 pages was in Adam Fletcher's hand, and he made sure to say they're not even done with that. I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff coming out for Diablo 4. Further bug changes and stability. What does it actually mean? Because you'll see that in all the tweets. You'll see that in all the blog posts. I've asked that myself. Further bug fixes and stability. Like, what does that even mean? And so Adam kind of cleared that up. This isn't a change, or excuse me, Joe mentioned this. This isn't a change like to Whirlwind. They would tell you if it was a change like that, something major like that. This is something that's not necessarily useful to the end user. This is announced, this is more things behind the scene that we don't really need to know. There's even words that they don't even know what to call it, but their team knows. So just letting you know it's stability issues and such, but that's not what they're identifying as like these major Whirlwind buffs or a certain buff to a pack or something. They would let you know in a different way for that. Just kind of cleared that up. The meta change. Blizzard has a philosophy, so things have been changing, absolutely. Dungeons have been kind of the go-to. Not even kind of. They have certainly been the go-to, where Nightmare Dungeons really haven't. And Blizzard has this philosophy of how they want this all to become. The Destiny and the loot nerf was something that Rod mentioned. If you ever played Destiny 1, I remember I played Destiny 1. People were cheesing. There was a cave. There was a very specific cave. People were just cheesing that instead of doing endgame content. They didn't directly say it, but I think that places like Eridu and maybe even Champion's Demise that people have just been constantly getting to level 100 through, that doesn't seem like the way they want us to play. It is what it is at that point. They saw a pattern with players, and it was not ideal. That's the philosophy on that. That's the TLDR. There's lots of choices. So people ask this. There's lots of choices. Can't you just buff everything? I know I have actually said that as well. They're saying this creates a lot of balance issues to changing to the quality of life or even the game in general. I believe Joe was the one that said this. They can't just go, oh, buff everything. Okay, great. Well, then now everybody's getting bugs. Now there's all these issues. They're looking into it. They're working on certain things. It didn't sound like they were against buffing everything, but Joe did mention buffs, buff. He wants to talk about buffs, but he couldn't today. But Joe is definitely interested in some kind of buff. Is that characters? Is that dungeons? I don't know, but it sounded good. I was trying to read between the lines a little bit from Joe there. Again, they just talked about the psychology, or the philosophy, I should say, the philosophy of how they're seeing it, and definitely Nightmare Dungeons is what it's looking like. It looks like there's going to be some major updates to the Nightmare Dungeons. We're going to get more experience, and they didn't necessarily say they were going to nerf anything in the current dungeons, but I don't think they want us running regular dungeons. I think this is a little bit unfortunate. I would prefer Nightmare Dungeons to be amazing and also dungeons to be amazing, at least at tier 4 or so. That's just me. I don't really enjoy Nightmare Dungeons. I'm not really into like lightning bolts coming from the sky. Anyways, Community questions came in, hot topics, dungeons. Now, again, Nightmare Dungeon is kind of out of whack right now. They've seen all the streams. They've seen everybody get to level 100 so quickly. That's not how things were intended. That's not how things are supposed to happen. So side dungeons have way too many elites. That's something they've been mentioning in the blogs. Most players haven't even beaten the campaign. That's something to think about. When you're watching your favorite YouTube, your favorite Twitch streamer, most people, according to the login, have not even completed the campaign just yet. So you're seeing a lot of these things. I don't want to say in the future, but most people, your average person who's working that 9 to 5, they're not even at the end game right now, which I found to be quite interesting. Most players, yeah, I mentioned that Nightmare Dungeons sigil aspects meant to be highly replayable. Now, in the current meta, I would say they're really not. They feel very empty. That's just me. My friends kind of say the same thing. Increase experience from Nightmare Dungeons. We briefly mentioned that. Make them more efficient than normal dungeons. Experience per hour versus loot per hour. This is something they're very deeply looking into. They're going to also consider modifying the sigils. You create a waypoint to teleport you to Nightmare Dungeon. So right now, when you make a sigil or basically a Nightmare Dungeon, you have to run over there. They're looking into a newer way of where you either open it and there's a teleport, maybe like Path of Exile does it, because that's kind of how Path of Exile does it, or it'll just instantly get you there. I'm not really sure on that, but they're certainly working on that. So there's going to be a major improvement there. And that'll kind of make people want to do it more, because it is quite annoying being in town and then trying to run all the way across the map to go to this specific dungeon. It is annoying, so they're definitely looking at that as a quality of life change. They're going to remove travel time and improve experience. That's the TLDR on that one. The timing is can't do quickly. So this is not something that's going to be a hot fix, right? Hot fix is maybe fixing a small bug or something. This takes time. So the game's been out for like 2 weeks right now. So just bear with them on this one. Before there's any updates, they're gonna take their time with that. For season 1, the late July. Again, not really sure which one. Changes will be for the next few weeks. Move safely as possible. I believe Tiffany was very adamant about that. Moving safely. They're going to make changes, but it has to go through the testing. Rod also mentioned that everything takes time. We don't want to break more things while doing so. So that could be potentially at a new, probably not a hot fix. All right, so question number 2 that they kind of mentioned, the Lilith altars, the Renown. This is something that I've been wondering. Renown was okay once. Honestly, I did not enjoy it at all. I would hate to do it again. And this part of the interview, they start talking about necromancers. I believe Tiffany started talking about a necromancer bug. Yes, we'll come back to the Renowns and such. But there's a corpse fart. That's what they're calling it. The corpse fault's difficult to see. That is a bug. They're going to try to clear that up. Then Rod, my man Rod, brought it back on topic and said, fogs of war. So fogs of war is basically when you can't see something. Maybe you've discovered it on, I don't know, a different character, or maybe this character just hasn't seen it and it's foggy, right? You have to get through all of that. They don't have to reveal again. Oh my goodness, that would be great, assuming that actually happens, that you won't have to see it again. I know I have to see it on my other characters. Not exactly sure, but it sounds like you're not going to have to keep continuously revealing that season to season. That would be a huge improvement, and I would love to see that. They will preload your Renown. So later in the interview, I'll mention that at the end, it got a little bit confusing, but at this point in the stream or this point of the video, they were saying you will not have to do your Renown again. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. They've already mentioned the Lilith statues, but Renown is really the bad part in my opinion. But a little bit confusing on there, because will you still get the points? I'm not sure, but it definitely sounds like the fog will be there. So you have the points, but the fog will be there like you've never done it. A little bit confusing on that part. Again, we'll talk about that towards the end of the video where they mentioned it again to clarify, because people were confused. They will show the ones you have already gotten. I mentioned that. Changes will also affect your alts, which is amazing. Again, nobody wants to do that again, except for Rod. Rod actually said he enjoyed doing the side quest and just doing things again. I don't know anybody does. Let me know in the comment section below if you do. The gems tab. This is a huge one that everybody has been asking about. And Joe referred to it as inventory tension, stuff that clutters up your inventory. It sounds like they will not be giving us a gem tab. which is a bummer, huge bummer, because I think that would be an easy fix. That's just adding a stash space. Instead, what they want to do is they want to add gems as a material, kind of like the rest of the materials, almost like a currency, and they're aiming at season 2 for this. I think this is really unfortunate. I don't really want my gems to be materials and kind of change up all this stuff. I'm not into that. I say we just add a tab the same way we have our sigils. Be done with it. It'll go into there and we can use it. We don't have to complicate it. We don't have to make it into material. I trust their judgment on it. It sounds like they can do something cool with it, but waiting all the way till season 2, that's going to be a bummer because they did say these seasons are going to be quarterly. So we're going to have to wait the rest of this month. We're going to have to wait July, August, September. I mean, it's going to be a really long time until we can expect to see the materials thing. I'd say scratch that idea completely, add a tab, be done with it. Not interested. Full rework of gems. I've mentioned that. More like materials. Upping material caps. At the moment, there are material caps. This is quite annoying. Adam mentioned he didn't say the word annoying. I'm saying annoying. He mentioned that it's kind of unnecessary, so they will be removing the need or the cap for materials, especially for people in the level 90, 100 range. It's kind of annoying when you can't pick up stuff, so they'll be removing that. Not at the moment, but they will eventually be removing that. Check before season 1 update. All right, moving on to resistances. This is a big one, right? Because everybody tells you resistance do not matter. And they're kind of aware that, they actually are aware that resistances don't really matter. They didn't want to say it doesn't matter. They're saying it matters a little bit, right? And it's not exactly how they planned. If you read between the lines on that, yeah, it doesn't really work that well. And definitely in the higher tiers, it doesn't seem to help. So they're going to be reworking that. We don't know when. It's not going to be a hot fix or anything. Again, a hot fix means something that just happens very quickly, but they will get to that point where they start making resistance more useful. And in the moment, everybody ignores them. You just get your armor, you're done with it, right? You just kind of move on, but that's going to change. So quarterly seasons, we mentioned that. Once they're finished up with season 1, roughly 4 weeks away, could be somewhere in between there. And they're just trying to get in front of everything that they've been working on. Now, delivering new content for every season on top of that fix. This is something they were all adamant about, is you are not going to just get a season that's lazy. You're not going to get a season that simply is just some hot fixes. All right, we'll skip that. We'll go to the next one. No, every single season, you should expect lots and lots of updates, awesome quality of life changes. It's going to be a long, drawn out process, and I'm really excited for it. Seems like some great stuff's going to be coming for Diablo 4. But again, you won't get an update or just fixes, which is great to hear. So game will continue to be updated, must value what is most important things to fix safely. So they are fully aware of what everyone is saying, but they have to pick or decide, in their opinion, what is the most important. They'll tackle it, and then there's still the rest of our life. They didn't say this part. There's the rest of our life to fix some of the other stuff. Hardcore. This one is huge to me. I'm a hardcore player. I've personally died 4 characters in a row because of desync or an update. Literally, I have all the evidence. It's awful feeling. I've seen Quinn. I've seen so many people die to these things. They mentioned it. They're aware. So disconnects, death, protection. We'll get into that in just a moment. Death to teleport bug, they are aware of that. That is a hot fix, so hopefully they can fix that soon. Situations where you should be immune are not working in certain situations. That would be a hot fix. That's something that they could potentially fix much sooner. Now, disconnects, what they understand, this is very frustrating. This is a very difficult one to tackle as well, because was it a power outage? Was it your internet just went out? Specifically, how do they identify that on the server side, and how do they know that? Maybe you know that, but how does the server know that? Especially with anti-cheat. So this is working as disconnect protection. They're going to be working on disconnect protection. Very complicated. This is not a hot fix at all. This is something that's going to come down the line, maybe potentially season 2, which I think is very unfortunate, which means you're going to get all these deaths all over again. But I understand, I guess it's very difficult because they're going to make this thing with the scrolls of escape. If you're not a hardcore player, you probably never heard of this. The scroll of escape, if you have it in your inventory at that time, and I strongly suggest getting it hotkeyed, but if you have it in your inventory, you get a disconnect, it's going to teleport you to town, which is really awesome. That, again, is going to take time. That's something they have to rework. They weren't fully aware when making the game. This is an assumption here that was an issue. So it's going to take time to build all of that. But long-term, hardcore players, shout out to all of you. It's going to be better, hopefully, if it all works out. So to stop the abuse, again, some people are just going to unplug their internet to not get killed. I feel like that's not super realistic because when you get killed, it's like this. It happens so quick. I don't know if anybody's going to run over there and unplug their internet. I don't really see how that would be a big thing. But there will be a hot fix for teleport sooner rather than later. So that's really nice. A different thing that they mentioned, why is the cache higher level than me? This is a bug. It's a plan patch. You'll be able to open it soon enough. They'll fix that. I'm not really sure about that one. I didn't really know what that was, but that's fine. World scaling. Everybody is talking about world scaling. What is the issue? Well, world scaling, they mentioned level requirement versus item power. Now, Adam actually mentioned people are too worried about level requirement when they should really be thinking about item power. So this is the number, maybe 685 or the breakpoint 725, something like that. That's what they should be worried more about. But people seem to just constantly ask about level requirement. There will be times that level requirement will be very high, but the item power will be very low. And there'll be times where the item power is very low, but the level requirement is very high. But really the main focus should probably be item power. Now, I was hoping that they would mention more as far as world scaling. Maybe they'll do this for the dev update in July. But I wanted to hear more about, a level 80 playing with a level 20 because it's cool playing with your friends. I love that. But at the higher levels, you kind of get the best of the best gear, but that's it. But the monsters continuously go up in level and you're not really finding too many things to improve your character, but they are still improving as monsters. So I think at the higher level, something needs to be addressed there for sure. I know Zizarin mentioned that as well. Another one, druids. There's a barb fix. That's going to be a hot fix currently, and I don't play druid, so I haven't had this problem. But occasionally, you'll see other class items, such as the barb items for the druid. And for whatever reason, this is a bug. The druid can see the barb items. Not really sure how that all works out, but that'll be a hot fix, and they'll fix that soon enough. Challenges with social features. This is a huge one, and they're not going to be able to fix this one too soon because, they have to adjust the game. They have to implement all of this. They're working on that for future patches, cross-platform. You have to understand, this isn't just PC game. This is PC and PlayStation and Xbox. They have to figure out how can all of these communicate with one another, but they are going to work on some things, certainly, for finding groups. Maybe you'll be out in a dungeon and you can link up with someone that's randomly out there as well. You can maybe interface more, and there'll be a lot better things coming for that. But again, that's not going to be something that comes out too soon. But they're aware of the problem, so that's really cool to hear. Make sure to ask Twitch chat questions. So they started asking Twitch chat questions. Adam did a pretty good job with all these. Question number 1 was a party question. I believe the person's name was Necro Logistics or Logics, something like that. Can we teleport to people without going to town? Huge one. Really like that. Adam and the team answered, some towns don't offer town portals, which is really unfortunate. I mean, I personally think all the towns should have a town portal, but it's not ideal in all situations. They are looking into it. I think maybe that just wasn't on their radar as much, to be honest with you. But again, they are taking questions. That'd be really cool, and I'd love to see that something implemented with that. But they said that wouldn't be like anytime soon. Question number 2, planning to buff resources gen? Future patch will have more updates on that. They are planning to buff resource gens, or at least the update will come pretty soon-ish in the future. Planning quarterly updates, absolutely. They still will have the dev update streams. Rod prefers live streams, platforms versus blog. Me too. I really like watching that. Maybe people who are watching this kind of video just like the quick fix. I don't really like the blogs as much. I kind of like the live streams, get to hear a little bit more of their tone, but both is cool. And Adam did reiterate that, yes, they will also have the blogs and the live streams. Next question, will we get the chance to change characters' appearance? Now, this isn't like a hairstyle. This is actually changing your character's face and stuff. I believe Joe mentioned this. He said, potentially in the future it could, but like you will be able to still change your hairstyle, maybe your tattoos or something like that. But as far as actually changing the character, like he said, not anytime soon, but they are planning maybe for season 1 or season 2. I wasn't really sure which one. You're going to get a lot more hairstyles, a lot more options, a lot more interesting things. For me, I'm not huge on that, but I know a lot of people who love looking really cool. So that's nice to hear. Completed side quest journal. That's the next question someone asked. In the future, there's a plan to go back. Not much was said about that, but you should, in the future, be able to go back to things you've already completed. I think that's really cool. I would love to personally go back and fight Lilith, non-Uber, or maybe some of the other ACK bosses, if that's possible. I think that'd be really neat. Maybe I could grind those out, do a video on that or something. Search functions, specific dungeons, quality of life is coming. They're aware of these things. It is unbelievably annoying when you have to look up a specific codex or something in your inventory. You got 4 stash tabs and you're just trying to find something that has vulnerable damage or something that has a specific resistance or whatever it is. Yeah, they're going to be working on that. So that's really good to hear because we need that. That is like #1 on the agenda. And then they mentioned, again, clarifying the Renown and Paragon points. I think it got a little bit confusing here. And I'm going to actually play you the clip right now because let me know if you're still confused on this.
And this one I think is just a clarification from people. This is from Nexian. It says, can you just re-clear something you said earlier so we can keep all skill points, potion charges, max obels, and paragon points from Renown for seasons?
Right. That's an important thing to clarify. So things like paragon points at the end of the Renown bar, you will start with some Renown. You're not going to get those paragon points that require finishing the Renown bar until you fill the Renown bar.
Okay, well, so that's my fault because I misunderstood. So it wasn't that they didn't understand. I misexplained it. So currently, like in the Eternal Realm, if I right. on one character I complete the full Renown bar, so I get my obels and I get my paragon points. If I roll an alt, I have those. I have the skill points. I have those potion charge. I have the obels. I have the paragon points. Right now, being that are shared between my characters on my account.
Some elements of the Paragon system are shared between characters. Things like the Altars of Lilith also give you stat points.
Right, but I'm just saying that that's how it works today in the Eternal Realm in terms of going between one character to another. The Renown unlocks on the bottom level are account-wide, yes?
In seasons, you will, the things that are at the end of the Renown bar, you will still have to acquire Renown to get.
Right, that's why I was just trying to clarify what it is today for alts is different than what it will be in season reset. Right, so today with alts, I clear all on my account, I get it across all my characters. So you're saying when we do a season reset, and if you clear it all on a character, or like when you have a map that's revealed in the Eternal Realm, when I go into the season, the map will be clear. Right. I'll have the Renown for that, but I won't have like potentially the max 80 obels and the Paragon automatically unlocked because I haven't discovered enough. I haven't gone and hit all those waypoints that would fill that bar.
Right. Yeah. But you will have the Renown for revealing the map, and you'll have the Renown for collecting the Altars of Lilith, to the extent that you have done that.
So after watching that clip, it does sound like you're going to get the first 2, the bottom row only, though. So it's kind of weird. So I guess you'll get your potion, and then you'll get the stat point, depending on which one it is. But then if you don't get the top bar, which is the progress, you're just going to have to do those 2 anyways. So a little bit confusing for me. You know, if you kept the first 2 and the top part of it, then you could just go straight into the third part. But if you're only keeping the bottom part's benefit, and you have to re-earn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then basically we're all kind of doing Renown all over again with some of the benefits. So I don't know. Let me know if you like this style or this format. I thought it was kind of different. It was something new, and I just wanted to get it out for all of you. If this benefited you in any way, hopefully for this recap, let me know. Please put in #notebook and also subscribe and like this video. I appreciate all of you. Peace.